This model literally summarizes the process and content theories of motivation. So you kind of get to understand what the relationship is between all of the different process theories and all of the main content theories. So across the middle of the model, you can see a straight line which starts with motivation and finishes with satisfaction. This effectively is the process theory of expectancy. Basically, what it's saying is that I will put the effort into something if it leads to performance, if I think it will lead to performance. In other words, I'll try it if I think I can do it. Now, the second stage of that expectancy theory involves a question about, well, what will happen if? So if I achieve the performance, is there a possibility that it would lead to some kind of outcome? So we have two questions. We have the first question is, if I put the effort in, will I be able to do it? And the second question is, if I do it, will it lead to something like an outcome? And the third question is this outcome something that I value or that will lead to some kind of satisfaction? So an employee or a worker tends to look at this model from the right-hand side. They tend to think in terms of the satisfaction really quickly. So is all this thing that the boss is asking me to do going to lead to something pleasant or unpleasant? Boss, on the other hand, tends to look at this model from the left-hand side, first seeing how can I get the drive and effort from the staff member. Either way, the questions have to be answered. And they have to be answered positively. Otherwise, the circle comes back to a negative, which might lead to lower effort the next time. But if the outcome of satisfaction is real positive satisfaction, then the circle back to motivation is probably likely that the individual will see this as being a positive thing. Okay, so let's look at the bits in between. So the goals and expectations that occur between motivation and performance, that's Locke's theory. That's called Locke's theory of motivation. It's also called Locke's goal setting theory. So the goals and expectations that are there, really it's what managers use when they're trying to get people to answer the question, the first question, in a positive response. So in other words, the question is, if I put the effort in, will I be able to do it? Well, what managers tend to do is they tend to set nice goals for their staff. that the person will be able to maybe be a little bit stretched, but will actually be interested in stretching themselves to try and get across the line. That's where we get SMART from, SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. So this section here gets the answer to the question. If I put the effort in, will I be able to do it? That gets the answer to the question to be a resounding yes. Down here below, also pointing into this section, is the term ability. So what the managers are trying to do in order to get that question to be answered yes, is they're trying to build up the ability and the aptitude and of the individual employee by giving them training and giving them resources so that it adds to their confidence and their competence. And the question then becomes more likely to be answered in a yes frame when the employee asks, if I put the effort in, will I be able to do it? Second question is, if I perform, will it lead to some outcomes? Well, usually this involves the reinforcement theory. So the reinforcement theory is basically putting in discipline and rewards. And it's really a content theory developed by people like Skinner, Bandura, people who used a fairly old-fashioned behaviorist form of motivation and punishment. And basically, you see managers putting in rewards. If you do this, I'll give you this. If you do this, I'll give you money, or I'll give you nice work. And that's really what that kind of motivation is about. Some people don't like it. Some people think it turns us into lab rats. So that it's a controversial one in a certain sense. But if you take a look at the grievance procedures and the disciplinary procedures of your organization, you'll probably find quite a lot of this theory at work in those procedures. You'll probably find that if you stop turning up to work, there is some kind of consequence that would happen. So you have to respond to that in some kind of way. But there's no doubt about it. If you stop turning up to work, they will instigate some kind of pain. And the same happens on the positive side. If you outperform the average, the norm, there's a chance that people will give you more money or more freedom. So that theory is at work there. Now, question number 3 tends to be, do these outcomes have any meaning for me? Do they lead to any satisfaction? And there are a couple of theories, a certain number of theories at work here. First of all, there's equity theory. And equity theory tries to match your inputs and your personal expectations in the job with your outcomes. So if you have personal expectations based on you have social comparisons such as your friends, you've even got the group that you're actually studying with at the moment. In 10 years' time, there's no doubt that you'll be comparing yourself to the individuals who started in the same class as you. You look back, you go to class reunions, and the unspoken thing is, how's everybody else doing compared to me? So what has that got to do with motivation inside organizations? Well, we're always comparing ourselves to the group, the team, our reference group outside in terms of our treatment. So when you present some kind of outcome to me, like a reward system in the organization, I tend to see how well am I doing in terms of other people, my reference group. So equity is a bit like that. Do I think I'm getting what I think I deserve? And my reference group will be some kind of group that I've decided is my benchmark. In the section below, number 5, salience and personal needs. This is our famous two theories, Maslow and Hertzberg. Maslow's hierarchy of needs and Hertzberg's two-factor theory. So basically the question is here is, are these outcomes something that I desire and give me satisfaction? So are they basic needs? Is it money? Is it some kind of subsistence? Is it protective clothing? Or is it recognition? Is it something that gives me intrinsic motivation? So you look at these theories and you think, okay, how do they fit here? Well, the way they fit is we read the individual as closely as we can to try to find out what needs are alive and kicking inside in them. And we try and organize the outcomes that will match that level of need. So according to Maslow and Hertzberg, we're constantly reading our staff members to see, can we identify exactly where they are and try to adjust the cafeteria menu of rewards and punishments that the individual will respond to appropriately. So, two main points. The integrative model of motivation comprises across the middle, literally, the expectancy theory model. If I put the effort in, will it lead to performance? If I perform, will it lead to some outcomes? If I get these outcomes, will it lead to satisfaction? Will it satisfy me? And then if that turns out to be a good process, I will probably put more effort in the next time or the same amount. If it leads to negative satisfaction, I'll probably reduce my efforts or I'll ignore it. The parts in between each of the questions have to be answered in a positive way, and the various process and content series in between those spaces helping us to answer those questions are at work as we go along. So that's the integrative model of motivation.